Welcome, my dear students and others, to Chapter 12, in which I will discuss the structures of solids. We begin this video series with a quote taken directly from our text, referenced in the description below, as well as at the bottom of this slide. Quote, "The hard drive of a computer is made from an extremely smooth glass disc coated with a thin layer of a magnetic alloy of cobalt. To store and retrieve information, the read-write head must glide over the disk at a height of about 1 micrometer, which is less than 1/200th the width of a human hair, while the disk moves at speeds in excess of 7,000 rotations per minute. Devices such as this would not be possible without advanced solid-state materials." So in this chapter, then, we're going to learn about solids. All right. After this chapter series of videos, you will gain the following skills. That is, you will be able to have memorized the 5 different types of solids that we'll cover in this lecture with their basic characteristics. Identify the attractive forces in different types of solids. Identify molecules with metallic properties. Know what a unit cell is, and be able to identify a compound's lattice type and empirical structure from a picture of its unit cell. Additionally, if you are given a polymer structure, you will gain the ability to draw the monomers used to make it. And please note, we will skip these sections from our textbook. So that's our lineup. Let's get into it. Starting with types of solids. So there are 6 different types of solids: metallic solids, ionic solids, covalent network solids, molecular solids, polymers, and nanomaterials. Now, for my university students, we will not discuss nanomaterials in this class. Additionally, we will discuss polymers in a later lecture in this chapter. Let's begin then by discussing the first 4, starting with metallic solids. So these solids have only metals in their formulas, and at an atomic level, they look more or less like a delocalized sea of electrons flowing around nuclei islands. In other words, the individual nuclei, that is where the atoms, protons, and neutrons are stored, sit like little squat islands inside the metal. And the electrons from all of the metals flow like a sea around all of the nuclei islands. This flow of electrons allows metals to conduct electricity and to be strong, but not brittle. Examples include copper and iron, as well as any other number of metals. And as a reminder, this table shows us which elements are metals, which ones are nonmetals, and which ones are metalloids. The next type of solid is ionics. So ionic solids, whose formulas contain metals and nonmetals together, are held together by the strong attraction between their cations and anions. Their electric and mechanical properties are much different from metals. Generally speaking, ionic compounds do not conduct electricity. Examples include sodium chloride and magnesium oxide. The next type is covalent network solids. These contain all nonmetals. However, unlike typical molecular solids, these nonmetal substances are held together by an extended network of covalent bonds latticing 3-dimensionally in all directions around the atoms. This bonding type can make materials very hard and include diamond, which is a covalent network solid made solely of carbon atoms, as well as silicon. Additionally, this property gives semiconductors their properties, the ability to only semiconduct electricity. That is, to be partially conductive and partially insulative, which leaves us with molecular solids. These are also formed from only nonmetal elements. However, they are not held together by an extended network of covalent bonds. Instead, they're just held together by the intermolecular forces that we discussed in Chapter 11, linked to in the description below or floating over my head as an in-video card. These include dipole-dipole, hydrogen bonding, and dispersion forces. Now, these forces are, of course, weaker than those of other solids, so molecular solids end up being soft and have low melting points, such as water and HBr. These figures taken from our text show pictorially how these different kinds of substances look. Now, just so you know, solids that are arranged in an orderly repeating pattern are called crystalline solids, whereas less orderly solids are called amorphous solids, which at the atomic or molecular level have structures similar to those of liquids. This takes us then to a beautiful example problem. I want you to tell me, or answer for yourself, I guess, since I can't hear you because I'm just a recording, what type of attractive forces exist between particles in molecular solids, covalent network solids, ionic solids, and metallic solids. Separately, I want you to answer what type or types of crystalline solid is characterized by each of the following. Now, I'm not going to do these for you, but invite you to try these on your own. Let's move on then to discussing metals more in depth, shall we? So metals are bonded together through metallic bonds, in which, as I just described, the valence electrons are delocalized across the entire solid like a sea of electrons flowing over countless islands that are each the individual nuclei or nucleuses of the metals. Okay, nucleus isn't really... Anyway, the point is these characteristics cause metals to be able to conduct electricity, to be malleable, that is, they can be hammered into sheets, and to be ductile, which means they can be drawn into wire. So you can bend and draw out metals in different ways to shape them that won't cause them to break apart and be brittle, like other compounds. Additionally, alloys are materials that contain more than one metal together. In other words, they are mixtures of multiple metals and they also have metallic properties. To predict then if a compound or element will have metallic properties, you need to consult the periodic table. If the compound is a metallic element or an alloy, that is two or more metals together, then it will have metallic properties. If not, then it won't. And as a reminder, this is the chart that shows us which elements are metals, which ones are nonmetals, and which ones are metalloids. That takes us to a beautiful sample problem. From the following substances, please circle all the ones that you would expect to have metallic properties. Now, as a hint, any substances or formulas here that contain nonmetals or metalloids do not have metallic properties. We're looking for the ones that are metals and only metals. All right? I'll let you tackle that one on your own. That then takes us to the end of this gorgeous video. Please tune in to the next one in which we'll continue discussing the properties of solids. Until then, my dear students and others, please have an enjoyable rest of your day.